G'day everyone, for those who have come in late, you're listening to X-Band, the Phantom Podcast.
Survivor of a shipwreck, and upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die. The Phantom, the ghost who walks. The Phantom, enemies beware. The Phantom's always there, but you won't find the Phantom.
Hello, we are the Chronicle Chamber team, and this is X-Band, the Phantom Podcast. Our website is chroniclechamber.com, and you can contact us via our email, which is chroniclechamber@gmail.com. You can subscribe to us via YouTube or through your favourite podcast apps, including iTunes or Spotify. This is episode 214, which will be our March 2022 Comics and News podcast. My name is Jermaine, and I am joined by the full plethora of the guys. Dan and Stephen, how are you guys going?
I'm good, Jermaine. Very pleased to be here. It's a Sunday night, and we get to talk about Phantom comics, and there might not be very many Frews, but there is a lot of news, so I'm looking forward to getting into it.
You're a poet and you didn't even know it. Yeah, Stephen, you're like me. You've been handed the daunting responsibility of looking after your kids this weekend by our wives on opposite sides of Australia went away and played. How are you?
I'm very well. My kids were very well behaved. We went out to the Begonia Festival here in Ballarat. It's been great. I'm just looking at the screen. I actually feel a bit naked. I'm not wearing a Phantom hat.
I was going to comment on Jermaine's hat. Now, that's this is the first time I think we've seen you wear this hat on the podcast, Jermaine. That exact hat, the Phantom Club cap, was an absolute favourite of mine in grade 9, 10, 11. I'm going to say I wore it all the time to school. But some bullies on the back of I'm sure I told this. I've probably told this during the podcast before, but some bullies on at the back of the bus took exception to my Phantom cap, and most days they would pull it off my head as they ran off the bus and put it under the back wheels as the bus drove away. So I had to get my cap back off the street. I can't believe I've got a replacement since, and I'm very, very pleased with it. I can't believe you're actually wearing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is a Phantom Club hat or what, but a recent acquisition. It's like a corduroy, and we all love the corduroy back in the 90s.
Pants.
Yeah, I had the corduroy pants. I even had a corduroy jacket as well, mate. I was styling. But yeah, no, I thought I'd pull it out. But yeah, no. So look, it's going to be a hopefully not too long podcast, but we will get straight into it. And the first comic that we are going to discuss are from the Frew. There's 3 of them. The first one is 1911, which I don't actually have with me.
I've got a copy of it, so I'll just and Steve does as well. It's the Frew replica with the boxing Phantom.
Yeah, so look, guys, straight up, the boxing theme cover. What are your thoughts?
Well, it made me turn straight to the boxing themed story in the middle of it. And that's the only story I've read of this one so far. Glenn Ford, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Glenn Ford, yep.
And he's done at least a couple now covers where he's kind of got the Phantom back to the audience. I think it was one of the, I'm going to say 00. Was it a 00 or an annual where there was a Phantom with his back to the audience?
The pirate themed one for Supernova, I think.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one's earlier than that too.
Yeah, but it's still got his traditional side-on face. Like I know myself as someone who used to like drawing. I drew that pose of the Phantom I don't know how many times, and it's a typical Glenn Ford pose where his chin's bigger than his forehead and his nose. It's iconic. Look, for me, straight up, I'm hoping this is going to be something we'll see more often, and that is a themed front cover for the replica issues, because I can tell you right now that the next collector's issue or collector's replica issue is not going to have a boxing themed story. So what I mean is that I hope that we see a different cover for issue number 31. What about you guys? Would you like to see a different cover, a different theme for each one?
It's certainly an interesting little happenstance, I suppose, in the Collector's Replica series, and much maligned, we must say. People love it, people loathe it, whatever. But so far, this is only the fourth different cover we've got of the Collector series. There was the photo of, and I'm going to say this off the top of my head and get it all wrong, I'm sure, but there was the photo of the bust to begin with, of the sculpture. We've just recently, I just looked at it before.
It was an Eden Small cover, which was again of the face.
Yeah,
they've all been pretty much concepts or variations from different artists of the face. So this is again,
the Monkeys of Melbourne bust was, of course, the first one.
Yes, which is just to your left or right.
Yeah, over there.
Way.
That's right.
So look, it's the first time that we've seen more than just the Phantom's face on a replica. I don't know. Let's see what happens for number 31. It might actually be the most anticipated, most anticipated replica series issue to see.
It'll be interesting because, like you say, issues 109, 108, 107 in Frew don't have the Masked Marvel or any other boxing themed stories. So to have this appear, and let alone for the next 9 more of these books, would just not seem logical. Wouldn't make it much sense. So whether they've decided to step away from having the same cover for 10 consecutive collectors replica series, it's going to be interesting to see. They have put the where are we? The Glenn Lumsden little corner box in there, which is a new one for the collector series as well.
Yeah. So for those who want to know, the stories are the movie stars, which it was actually in the second trade paperback by Frew, which had the replica. Had a sequel story by Pidde Andersson and Shane Foley. The Heavyweight Champion, which is one that we've just been talking about, which I really enjoy that story. The Marshall
it was a good read. I just reread that one just before we came back to air, and it is a really good story. I enjoy it.
The whole sequence at the end of the actual fight is really, really good.
Yeah.
You got the second part of the Marshall sisters, and that's another. To be honest, it's another cracking story. Yep. And then you've got the Shoplifters by Lee Falk, and all of them are by Lee Falk and Wilson McCoy. Now, the Shoplifters, to be honest, is probably won't fit the standard of a classic, but it's a good story. It's just not a classic that you go out of your way to reread countless times. Probably like the Heavyweight Champion and the Marshall sisters. I reckon those are the classics of this lot where you actually go out and read those stories countless
But that's where it's good that something like the Shoplifters does get repeated, because it's not the sort of thing that people are going to come across any other way. So I think as a group of stories, if you wanted to say to someone, well, here's what Lee Falk and Wilson McCoy were like, it's a good little package of stories to demonstrate that era of the newspaper strip.
Yeah. So
I don't believe it. Are we actually praising a replica issue?
I was just going to say that. Do you think a lot of it's to do with the fact that we've got a themed cover?
I think we're probably spending more time on it because it's the shift in cover, and then but you know, I've always said that the collectors series, this replica series, does have a place. So no, I haven't gone through and read them again, Steve. Unlike yourself, you've at least read through the Heavyweight Champion again. I've flicked through it and enjoyed the art again, but you didn't have time to actually read the stories.
Look, the story, the production quality of the stories is also good as well, which does help.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Actually, one little pointer.
One more thing.
When you're talking about the profile of his face on the front cover, that if you look in all the newspaper articles in the actual story, he's got the exact same profile. Just a little tidbit, probably, I don't know whether it was good luck or good management, but it was just a little calling out to the newspaper article.
No worries. All right, we are going to move on to Frew issue 1912. As you can see, if you're on YouTube, again, you can see the front cover. I will be flicking through the story as we discuss it in a second as well. Now, this is the first of 6 issues. We're only going to be reviewing 2 issues because that's all that's out at the moment, and then they're taking a little bit of a mini break. So we're going to be talking about Frew issue 1912, The Phantom Goes to Hell. The cover Oh man, what's the name of it? Turid Aurora Walderhag is the name of the artist, which of the front cover. Percy Ochoa is the interior artist, and Pidde Andersson is the writer. So, Stephen, do you want to start us off with your thoughts of the story?
Well, it's an interesting story. It puts the Phantom in Paris. It's which number Phantom? The 19th Phantom. He's in Paris on his honeymoon to Jane. And they're seeing the sights, they're checking out the art galleries. And his wife is going to go check out some theatre. He's not really keen on checking out the theatre, but he tends to end up with his own show that night and being the star attraction in hell. Well, is that what it's called? That I said, welcome to, what's the actual name of the place? Inside the Cabaret L'Enfer, I believe. It's a good little story. I enjoyed reading it, but if you want me to comment on more than just the story, you can't go past the actual reproduction of the artwork. It just seems a little bit not quite in focused.
Yeah, look, you're not going to be able to tell if you are looking at the scan of the one, but there was a printing issue or a production issue. If you look at some of the pages, some of the blacks aren't quite black, and the artwork looks a little bit fuzzy, which is probably a lack of a better definition. So, like, for instance, and all the cross-hatching wasn't that good. Like, if you look at page 5, I might just stop the share for a second.
Well, looking at your share, it looks a lot cleaner than what's looking live in my hand.
Yeah, so basically, we've talked to Percy about this, and we've given him some screenshots and all that. And basically, when you're doing ink wash and certain ink work and stuff like that, so like, for instance, this is a good example here. You almost have to contrast or change the contrast to make it darker, and it hasn't been done on this. It has been done on issue 1913, which is good.
Yeah, the second one was fine.
Yeah, the second one was fine. It was just for the first one. But look, if you can go past that, some of the pages look a little bit fuzzy. I think it's an enjoyable story. I really do. I really enjoy Percy's artwork. Like you guys, like me, we grew up on Cesar Spadera's artwork, and I've enjoyed his work. If you're looking at this, the use of the what do you call it? The circle panels, these overlapping little square panels down here as well. They're all very, very Cesar Spadera-like panel work, and he's no longer with us, and so I've enjoyed reading this. It brought me back to some of my childhoods, seeing some of the layouts and stuff like that. But in saying that, Percy's definitely got his own style. Like, I believe the Phantom's face is a little bit longer, and it's definitely his Phantom rather than just a carbon copy of Percy's. Dan, have you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I must say I didn't really have the issue with the fuzzy art and whether I got a better copy. I guess you can see the difference in sharpness in when you're looking at the speech balloons and the narrator boxes compared to the actual art. I didn't find it too much of an issue at all, to be honest. But as you say, the next issue is a little bit crisper. No, I really enjoyed the story, and I really like the way that Percy gets your eye moving around the page. And I'm probably talking across both books now, but when I talk about his art, I've really been making more of an effort over recent times to read the story through the art first, like page at a time or double spread at a time, and then go back and read the narrator box before you turn the page and read the dialogue and all the rest of it before you turn the page. And I found that Percy really draws your eye around in quite a natural fashion, not necessarily a predictable fashion though. So no, I really like his art, and I agree with what you say about his depiction of the Phantom. But it's a strong Phantom without necessarily some of the when he's Kit Walker, he just looks like a big, strong man. When he is the Phantom, he probably is a little bit more ripped than certainly Wilson McCoy's, for instance. He's still it's still a very very pleasant, very enjoyable art style for sure.
I love all the cross hatching, which works well if you're producing this for black and white, which obviously Percy is. But I would be interested, because I reckon Team Fantomen will pick this story up. So I'll be interested to see how it looks in colour. Because that will probably be the first time we see this story in colour.
Yeah, I was just about to say before you said it then, Jermaine, I forgot that it wasn't a Team Fantomen story. It really has that sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Feel to it, for lack of a better word. So I'd really expect Fantomen to publish this and part 2 and probably the rest of it as they're coming along. Something that I'm talking across issues myself as well. The constant flipping between French and English started annoying me after a while.
Oh, did it?
Okay.
If I'm being honest, it really was. At the start, I didn't mind it that much, and I know it's only a phrase here or there, and you can figure out what they're saying, some sort of exclamation. But I was kind of getting over it a bit.
Does it feel gimmicky to you?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if gimmicky was the right word I was thinking, but it never happens if if the Phantom can understand it, then we should be able to understand it. And he's over there in Paris talking with people the whole time. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like having a babble fish in your ear. So you can always understand, or, if you're a Doctor Who fan, the TARDIS has got the translator.
Or subtitles for
But the Phantom is able to converse with these people, then all of a sudden there's a phrase and a common phrase that's not translated. So it makes me think, it just after a while got jarring. I didn't mind it at the start, but it just kept happening and got jarring.
I would argue the exact opposite, Stephen. I really enjoyed it and thought that it helped the story and the dialogue feel a bit more authentic. And probably helped me feel a little bit smarter, because I was like, I understand what they're saying there, and I can work out what the French is. But I'm also listening to a podcast that's all about the history of the English language and stealing words and phrases from other languages. So I'm on a bit of a bent on that on the moment anyway. Genuinely, I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I get it.
I think we've nailed it
in France.
I think we've nailed
after a while, I had enough.
Yeah,
Dan's saying, Stephen, that you're not as smart as him.
I just got sick of reading French.
I'm saying that the thing that Stephen was like, oh, okay, I'm over this. That's the bit where I'm like, I feel smart because I can work it out.
Yeah, I can work it out. I'm over it now.
So, listeners, if there's any listeners out there that enjoyed it, or whether you're with Stephen, that it got to you at the end of it as well, let us know on social media. We're all over social media, so make sure you let us know on your YouTube comments and stuff like that as well. It'll be interesting to hear what other people have to say. Anything else?
I'm grasping at straws just to find things to critique. I'm always too positive, so I have to try and find things to critique. And that's the one. All
right. Well, okay. I say this with tongue fairly in cheek, because I genuinely, I'm on the record in the past of saying that some of Pidde Andersson's stories have been a bit wordy and all the rest of it. I really enjoyed both of these stories. And really enjoyed the narrative he put together. So I say that first, so that I can then say, how many times do you reckon the word milk was in the story?
That's his thing. In just about every one of his stories, he's made a thing about the milk.
I actually did a count, and in the Phantom Goes to Hell, the word milk is, there's two separate scenes that reference it. The first scene, he doesn't actually get milk out of his mouth before his wife's like, no, stop talking about milk. Then he orders it in French, which you probably didn't enjoy, Steve. And then the word milk is in the dialogue 9 further times, just in like 2 or 3 pages at the end there, in that fight sequence. So Pidde really enjoys his milk jokes.
he does. Yeah. Well, when we get him on the podcast, we'll have to ask him about that.
Absolutely. And look, as I say, I've got no qualms with it. It might have been a touch overdone, But in this instance, but no, I really enjoyed his writing style across both, and I like the fact that and I know I think necessarily we have to talk about both of these stories in the same breath in a way, but I like the fact that what Pidde's done there is basically created a setting for a bunch of Phantom stories. That being what Steve said earlier, the Phantom on his honeymoon 2 years after they've been married. So finally they get to go on this holiday. They're going to Paris, the city of love and all the rest of it. And then there's a sequence of stories, almost little one-shot stories. They're not independent on each other once you understand the setting where the Phantom is. And I'm enjoying the little series.
Yeah, I guess having them printed together also means you're not spending a page or even a panel reintroducing the setting and the fact that they're on their wedding and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you seeing you've read the last one, you already know that where they are, who's involved, and you can just get straight into it. So that's what I kind of like about it.
Because, and we'll probably discuss it, but we know now that 19, 14, 15, and 16 are going to be stories that are not in this world, because that's a new trilogy that's coming out. Not a new one, a repeat of an old trilogy that we love. But the second story, I think it literally is one panel on page 7, Germ, if you can bring that up, where there's a narrative box. There it is. Just slide back up a little bit. Halfway through the page on your right, there's that large narrative box that gives all of the background and the context to the story, and everything else, I think Pidde said to us in one of the conversations that these are standalone stories, and it's very, very true. So,
yeah,
standalone stories that just happen to be in the same place, same time, and like you said, create this little world where these standalone stories can happen. It's good.
But if this was, say, an isolated comic, waiting for the 8th page to be able to get this one panel, it would have been a little bit more disjointed. But the fact that we've read the last issue, which was related to this, as well as that, it means that there's not as much time spent recapping. So I personally wish they did all 6 issues one after the other, rather than putting a 3-part story in between it. And then you would have
because of issues getting the artwork or getting the stories completed.
Well, the stories have already been completed. Like if you're having a look at, if you have a look on the first page and on the last page of them, you can see here a little signature on the bottom of page 3. The 19. Cat's tail, there's 19. So look, they've already been done. I prefer, and yeah, it's not done up as a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, etc., etc. And Pidde has said, they are standalone stories. I just would rather they were all published together rather than having I understand, obviously, they've got to probably put a replica issue in between it somewhere, but to have, this is going to be 6 stories separated by, at the very bare minimum, 9 issues, which is 3 months, maybe even 4 months, 4.5 months or something. I just think that's pushing it out too far.
Not often I agree with you, but I agree with you there. I disagree with you on that page 5 or 6. I reckon having that little bit of a prologue there with the cat burglars doing their thing before you introduce to what's happening with the Phantom, I thought that was fine.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Steve. I actually thought you probably could pick up on the roofs of Paris story. I think you could pick that up without having read the other one and still slip straight into this Phantom story pretty smoothly. I had no problem with that. And I'm going to disagree with both of you in the sense that I actually like the fact that they're going to spread it out a little bit. I equate it, Steve's already said that after 2 issues, he was a little bit sick of one of the things that is happening in the stories. If he had that for 4 more issues in a row, goodness knows how we'd hear about it in the April Comics and News podcast. And look,
fair point.
We're all on the record of saying that Paul Mason's Phantom in Vietnam stories are things that we enjoy, but would we want them for 6 consecutive issues? maybe not. I like the idea of like, let's establish a context or a setting for a particular series of Phantom stories, but don't have them all at once. Like sprinkle them around. I actually don't mind it at all. I think it's pretty clever.
You need to stop, Dan. You're making too many good points.
So, listeners,
I change my argument.
Listeners, if you're either on either side of the fence, or if you're on Stephen, where you kind of waver between both sides of the fence, let us know. Let us know on social media, and also let us know on YouTube comments as well. It'll be great to hear what the audience and the listeners have to say. Now, another thing that I really did like about this second part of the story on the roofs of Paris was how the Phantom got framed, and then how it was up to what's her name? I can't remember his wife's name. Jane. And how it was up to Jane to basically clear the Phantom's name. I thought that was really clever. I really enjoyed it, and it was really enjoyable. It was almost comedic, as how it was played out.
You mentioned before about him being wordy. That just sees what you're scrolling along there. It is very text heavy.
Yeah, but Pidde's
He's very text heavy.
Yeah, all his stories are.
I didn't notice it as much this time, and perhaps it's because there were some other long sequences where there's no words at all. So
which balances it.
Yeah, you talked about the prologue there before, Steve, of seeing the cat burglars. That's what was it, 3 pages, 4, with barely a word.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at this page spread here, 14 and 15, 14's got a fair bit of words.
Yeah.
But then 15 has, one speech bubble.
That's the action teller story.
And a lot of effects, a lot of roars and bams and pows telling the story, which, there's a nice balance there. I also think that I wonder if the artwork also has a lot to do with it as well, where Percy's artworks, how would you put it? It's very busy because there's a lot of the panel work. Like here, you've got the border of the box is the lightning bolt. There's a lot of black.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting and stuff like that. So I think it might have. I'm not an expert in the art of comic book creation, but I wonder if. I'm not sure if busyness is the right word, but if the busyness also hides some of the extra wording that we probably see associated with Pidde's work as well.
Well, look, whatever combination is, or whatever the theory is behind it, I genuinely did not come away from this thinking, gee, that's a dialogue-heavy comic.
I would agree with you on that one.
I didn't. It's just that when we were talking about it before and just had the vision up there for crikey, there is a lot of text up there.
Yeah. It's if you're looking for it, and if you're being critical, which, let's be honest, we are, because, we do this for fun, and on the podcast, we're paid. Well, not paid. We're expected to be critical.
Who's getting paid here? Hey.
So also another thing, when I talked about Percy, how his Phantom's face was a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's
a good example there.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I really enjoyed it. The other thing that I thought was quite good and interesting, and we probably haven't seen too much in other Phantom stories, is this one here. The Phantom's up all night rescuing the day and all that, and then he's sleeping and getting in trouble for, Now, it's good to see that the Phantom is a human being. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my kids are younger than yours, but when the kids have been up all night, I don't want to talk to the missus. I just want to put my head back down and pretend I can try and get another 5-10 minutes. And it looks like even on his honeymoon, the Phantom is still doing that.
100%. Hey, just while you're on that page, can you imagine if that sequence had been drawn by Falk? Might have looked a bit different, I reckon.
I reckon it probably would have originally been done differently, and then it would have been.
I was just thinking the bit of first draft that would have been rejected, and
KFS wouldn't have let it go past. I don't think.
Probably not. Sorry. Did you?
No, you go.
I was probably going to switch tack a little bit and just talk about the fact that we've got for these 2 books 2 new cover artists.
Yeah. Let's just go back to the inside art and then we'll talk about the cover artist. Now, I also like the epilogue. Did I say that
That
right?
was weird, I thought.
Yeah, well done.
It was, but it feels like it was like, hey, I like these characters. Let me throw in an epilogue and let's see if I can get another story out of it.
Well, and that was cool because the Phantom caught the cat burglar, or so he thought, but he only caught the male
One of them.
species.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was it was good to see that the Phantom doesn't actually know everything that's going on. He thinks he solved the case, done and dusted, go to sleep and have a morning kip. But there's actually a whole second half of this that he's not got any.
Now, would that be a kip with a P or a kit with a T?
A morning kip, KIP.
These sort of look like, they remind me of the Thompson twins with them dressed up in their disguises out of Tintin.
Yep.
They're not exactly like that, but they just kind of remind me of that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Big nose.
Anything else regarding the story or writing? And then we'll talk about the cover artist and then we'll go to the Gaslight story.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, so Dan, you made mention of the cover artist. So the first one which we talked about is Churid, who has a trading card in the set. I think it's number 74 from the top of my head. So this is her cover here.
Swedish.
Now, from what I've seen Churid post this image, and the cover image was a lot more vibrant than what we get on here.
This is the trading card, I reckon.
Yeah, that's the trading card.
Yeah, so this is on Churid's home page, and I'll just.
So you reckon it should have been a little bit more brighter?
Oh, look, it's just very red. Obviously, it looks like it's had I'm not an Instagram or whatever person, but it looks like it's got a red filter or a blood filter that's gone across the top of it. That's probably just a bit too heavy. Whether that was intentional in the design or that's a printer's over enthusiasm or whatever it might be, but but by the same token, it's dramatic and stands out as a result of that. Whether or not you like the effect is another thing, I suppose.
I wonder, and this is just a guess, just a theory, so no one try and quote me on it or anything like that, but I wonder if it was a directive of King Features that maybe it was a little bit too full on. And so the redness, kind of dulls the effect of the demons and of Lucifer and stuff like that.
Oh.
Happy to be proven wrong. T, if you're listening, please prove me wrong.
I'd be disappointed if that was the case. I mean, surely that's not over the top.
Yeah. All right. So thoughts of the second cover, which is from Lily McDonnell, who is an Australian. She does go to a few supernovas and comic cons and stuff like that. So if you ever do go up there, make sure you can probably get a signature on this issue as well. Now, if you look on her social media pages, which I'll try and remember and put up in our show notes, Stephen and Dan, that's your job to make sure you remind me for that one. All of her images that she does draw has this type of effect with the borders and stuff like that. So that is definitely her style. Your guys' thoughts of the cover?
Okay, you go, Steve.
I really like her cover. Have we seen any of her work before? Like she doesn't have a collector card or anything?
No, not from a Phantom perspective.
Didn't think so. This cover really stood out. I really like the borders, and I like the way that they've done the Phantom logo. Not even looking at the art at the moment, but the Phantom logo. It's got the gold outline, which is usually
black. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, usually black, but it's usually when they put the gold on, it's usually for a special occasion. I like this menacing figure. I really, if I was going to say which cover I prefer out of the two, I'd be saying this one.
Yeah,
lilies.
I just think the whatever filter or whatever they put on that kind of dulled it a little bit. Yeah, I think.
But not only that, I prefer Lily's Phantom.
Yeah,
the other one needs to bulk up.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a massive fan of.
I'm not a fan of a
cover
Phantom.
of 1913. The actual the Phantom physique itself is probably my concern. I actually like the framing and all the rest of it. The composition's good. It's just it looks a little bit like Sean Joyce's Phantom, which I didn't enjoy much either in the JFK series from Hermes Press. But
also, I'm not sure what this dude here has to do with the story as well. The one with it looks a bit like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, that probably, it didn't even occur to me. But then there's not a Lucifer really in the first comic either.
No, that's the play that they go to, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cabaret.
Yeah.
The cabaret look. Yeah, I'm obviously not sophisticated enough to know the difference between a play and a cabaret. Sorry, Steve. All right.
So this, and whether I enjoy them or not, they're fine covers, and I expect both of them will probably feature well in our poll at the end of the year because it will absolutely appeal to different tastes. Is this, and surely this is the case, that this is the first time we've ever had consecutive Frew covers by female artists?
I would assume so because Frew, have they ever had a female artist?
Yeah. There's been a few across the years.
Lindsay Walker had
That's the first
one.
one that came to mind.
Okay.
Don't know of any others.
Yeah.
So maybe this is now for a total of 3 and they happen to be consecutive, so therefore it is consecutive.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I can't think of any others.
Scourge of the Air Pirates Part 2 and Part 3. Stephen. No, not Stephen. Sorry, I've already gone. You, Dan.
Oh, look, I enjoy these for what they're worth. Like, and I hope that doesn't come out the wrong way because I don't know how I feel the continuity of the Phantom. I'm not sure how I see it fitting. In that sense, it's almost a little bit Phantom 2040 for me, if you like, or a what if type. I don't know, like the Gaslight genre as a whole and the steampunk elements of it and all the rest of it. But that said, the actual story itself, I really enjoy. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of, and in short bursts like this, I like it for what it is. And I just sort of put my other expectations around what I understand to be the Phantom to one side. Yeah, I hope that's not coming out too negative because I certainly don't mean it to be. But it's just you can't. I can't. For me, I don't think you can go from Lee Falk, Wilson, McCoy stories, boom, straight into Phantom by Gaslight and have the same experience.
No, they're two different experiences.
But I think they're still Phantom. Like it's still obvious Phantom. I still think they follow. They still follow the law.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like, say, for instance, if you go to like Charlton stories, which very loosely was based on the law that we know. Like, you know, you had the 20th Phantom buried in a crypt outside the Skull Cave, or, you know, so like there was a lot of law that was kind of neglected. So obviously Jason still knows who the Phantom is.
100%.
You know, Glenn's part of the editorial and he would put restrictions on him and edits and stuff like that. For me, I like the 3-part story because it's very quickly, like you don't have to wait. You know, if it was an 8 or 10-part issue, which we've seen in the past, it's not going to be published in every single issue. So you're waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 months to see it. Where this was over and done in 3 or 4 issues, and it felt like a lot more enjoyable in that sense.
Yeah. And in regards to your comment about the canon, I don't put it in the canon because steampunk is like an alternative universe. Like it's running parallel. Does all things that are Phantom like or Phantom, you know, does the Oath and is the Phantom. It just happens to be in this steampunk universe. So I wouldn't be putting it in canon. But it's
I agree. I agree.
You've explained that well, Stephen. Phantom in an alternate universe. That's good.
But in saying that, it could fit in the canon in a sense that it doesn't contradict the canon. And I think that will be a problem.
We haven't had airships and things like that in.
Yeah, but that's not against the Phantom.
No, it doesn't contradict anything, but it's got this fantastical steampunk fantasy element to it.
Yeah, and see, I don't mind that as whether you call it a what if or whatever, but for me, it can't go away from what the Phantom is.
Yeah.
And so, and I think we're all in agreement here is, it's fun. You may enjoy the theme, you may not, but at least you can read it and kind of go, yeah, this is still my Phantom.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of stuff that's been published by other publishers, and you're reading it and you're just going, this isn't my Phantom. Who is this imposter? As you're reading, you're just thinking, man, I'm turning over in my grave and I'm not dead yet. Imagine what all these other past people that have come before us. But you don't get that sense of feeling with this.
No, and look, I really do enjoy Jason Paulos' art. It's just exciting. It's vibrant. It's moving all the time. It's dynamic. And his depiction of that steampunk era, I get the feeling that Will spoken to him. We know he really has fun with it. And you can get the sense, it's really good to see. I really enjoy any time that a single creator, writes and draws the story. It's exactly what they wanted to communicate. So
it doesn't always work out as good as that.
No, it doesn't always work out. But I always enjoy seeing people have a crack at it, and Jason Paulos does it better than most.
Yes. All right. So moving on to Giant Size number 20. Now this kind of came out and kind of caught, I think, everyone by surprise. Even Glenn Lumsden, when I was talking to him, he was like, "What? Is that out already?" Now, thoughts on the cover? Do you love the cricket?
Just hold it still because I can't. Can you just hold it up just a little bit higher? Who's underneath you? Yeah. I thought there was another. Oh, yeah, there it is. Phantom Ranger is about to cop that square in the nose.
He's
coming down the side and he's about to drive him straight down long off. And if Phantom Ranger's not paying attention, he's going to cop it straight in the nose.
And I love Sir Falcon. He's just kind of like bagging him and heckling him, sledging it. It's look.
You better watch out. He's sitting in leg sleep. If he puts on the leg side, he's going to cop it.
What I thought was really good about this is that the story inside is called The Test.
Now, you have to explain that for our Scandinavian, American, and Brazilian listeners. The
Indians will get it.
Yeah. For those who haven't been colonized by the English.
that is the best way of putting it. Well done.
Well, actually, I guess technically the Yanks were colonized, but they kind of modified the game and just made it baseball.
Ben and I are wearing our whites too.
Look, the Test is cricket, which is what they're playing on here. The Test, which Australia are playing at the moment in Pakistan, is where two sides bat twice and field twice, and then the game is called The Test because it's a test of nutrition and test of, everything and all that. And so, of course, now I don't know if Frew planned this because I know Glenn is a rugby fan. I'm not sure if he's a cricket fan, and I don't really know where Dudley's sporting allegiances lay. But let's give him kudos for producing the story, The Test, with a cricket match, cricket front cover. Because
it's very clever, and you'd like to think that Dudley's getting a giggle as he sends it off to the printers, knowing that there's that giant-sized Easter egg that we're all going to enjoy and talk. And it's worth pointing out that the Test, the story, has got nothing to do with cricket. So no matter when
so if you don't know anything about cricket, it's not going to spoil your enjoyment of the story. It has nothing to do with it.
There'll be lots of people who would say that it spoils that this is not their favourite Phantom story because it involves aliens, and there's lots of people who firmly do not enjoy those sorts of stories. But now it's worth pointing out that this version you're showing us here, Jerm, is not the one in giant size because this is colour. And giant size is black and white.
So this is from the Gold Key number 2. I've got a scan of that. I don't have a scan of it in black and white. So yes. So if you're on YouTube, you're probably thinking, "Oh, sweet, giant size has got a colour." Sorry to disappoint you. It is in black and white. Look, the story. Let's be honest. The story sucks. The artwork's great, but the Phantom and the aliens just doesn't do it for me. To be honest, these aliens with their hardcover, the goggle eyes and the nose, which looks like a respirator, it looks like
Yes.
it looks
It
like
is a respirator. How do you expect them to breathe? They're in an alien land.
Yeah,
It
but
look-
they're
it looks
remarkably
like something
humanoid.
out of a war, out of a apocalyptic world or something like that. Look,
Was this written before or after Lee Falk's Blue Giants? Because it's got a remarkably similar premise.
so it's actually based off a Lee Falk story. So
It is, yeah.
yeah, so Lee Falk did a story called I think it's the Horn Star Demons.
Horn Star Demons. Yes, you're right.
And
Yep.
so this is Bill Lignanti did variations of various Wilson McCoy classics and stories. Shouldn't use the word classics. And this is one of them. So look, I didn't like the story, but I really enjoy the artwork. No eyes shown there, but really enjoys artwork, and I like Bill's artwork. I think he gets a bit of a bad rap, but yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It was good to see a lot of Bill Liganti's Phantom, because you're right. He is someone who, because he shows the bulge of the ears under the cowl, and because he showed the eyes in the Queen Samara story, gets a bad rap for to use your words, and it's not fair. I think there's lots of artists who have used the ears below the cowl, idea since, and it works. It's realistic. So no, it was good to see a lot of his artwork. I'm with you though. The story's not certainly going to be shared at home as a classic of any kind.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a fair few test matches are very similar like that. They're not worth rereading or rewatching. Anything else you want to make mention of this story, all of Giant Size?
It'd be nice if it was in my local comic shop so I could have it.
I'm just going to give I'm going to give just a quick shout out. It's worth noting that they've used the replica cover for 710. The test was only a half of the actual publication of Frew 710. I can't remember off the top of my head now what the other story was. It was also a Bill Liganti story. The two books that were originally in 710. So they've basically given us the filler page, the filler story, along with the Catman, Phantom Ranger, Self Falcon, and the Shadow, as we've come to expect in Giant Size. I do want to give a bit of a shout out to Frew, and I hope that they find them, because I do like the fact that they've got this wanted, the wanted ad in every Giant Size. Here's the other stories we'd love to reproduce for you, the reader. If you're a collector and you've got copies of this, can you please send them in to us so that we can put them into this? Or, I'm sure that they come to some sort of arrangement where they get copies of it. So Planet Man #5, we've all enjoyed and even seen Massimo Gambari come up with a new Planet Man. But other ones like Jetman and Green Skeleton, the Frew crew are still looking for issues 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those two titles. I've never even heard of those. I would actually really enjoy seeing what is the Green Skeleton, and I'd love to see issue 1 turn up in a Giant Size just for curiosity's sake. So
yeah,
hopefully they do turn up at some point.
And that's the thing about Giant Size, is that I've learned so much about Australian comic book history because of Giant Size. I've actually, that wanted ad or wanted poster has actually made its way onto some Australian comic book history Facebook pages.
Yeah, right.
And it's actually like other people who aren't Phantom fans have actually gone, oh, cool, they're doing all that type of stuff, and then they talk about, oh yeah, I picked that up just recently because of this, and so Frew are getting extra sales because of the fact that they're, I guess, cross-platforming their sales with non-Phantom readers purely because of people who are Australian comic book historians. So, yeah. All right, so that is all of our stories. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to Mikael. Mikael has 2 Phantom Man comics for us, and then he's also got a issue of I thought I wrote how to pronounce this. I don't have that, how to pronounce it. It looks like 91:AN, but it's called Nintian or something like that. Issue 5 of 2002, which is a Claes Reimerthi special. So Mikael will be reviewing that. Also, Fantomen issue 5, 2022, and then also Fantomen issue 6 and 7 of 2022 as well, which includes a news story by new writer Bernard Frentz. If you want to learn more about him, go to our website as well. So, Mikael, over to you, buddy, and thank you.
Once again, Fantomen Review with me, Mikael. This time it's issue number 5 of 2022. It has this great cover by Luca Arbata, very colorful and nice, I like it. Let's jump into it. First we have the editorial page. Andreas is talking a bit about that Johan Boix, I never know how to pronunciate that, has been an artist for many years, but this is the first time he has also written the story, so that will be interesting. Then there's a shout out for Phantom Wiki and the new segment there where you can see the current releases, and there's some examples here from India and Finland and Brazil and Norway and Hungary and Australia, US and Spain. But the main story, Ondskans Totem, written and art by Johan. If you translate it, it would be the Totem of Evil. I have some mixed thoughts about this one. It is about this totem showing up right outside of the Skull Cave and the Bandar village, and also there's a second part of the story with the Phantom going away and meeting up with Sandal, doing a lot of stuff, and there comes these people out of the totem, these soldiers, and I mean there's a lot of good action. I like the action, but it also makes little sense that why did the soldiers carry this totem right outside of the Bandar village just to jump out of it? They could just as easy just attack them. But if you disregard that, it's a good story. And the second story we have is a classic Falk Barry story, The Terrorists. And it's a typical Barry story, beautiful art, some fun parts, a bit of overuse of the twins all the time. But yeah, good. What do we have more? Yeah, we have information about how to vote for the best cover of 2021 Fantomen. And I've written a short article about that on Chronicle Chamber. If you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. And you need to vote at the latest 9th of March. So do that. And next time we'll see, we're gonna have another new storyteller, Burnt Friends, and he has done a story with art from Einar Bade, Smoke Over Bengali. Looking forward to that. Old newspaper story, the Wharf Rats. So this is one of the ones that was created shortly after Falk's death. They reused an old story and did new art for it. And a new side comics, but that doesn't really have anything with Fantomen. Oh, and look, there's some good offer here if you want to start to subscribe. Now it is issue 6-7 of 2022. It has a cover art by Luca Arbata, the third of this year that he has done. It has lots of movement in it, and the buggy almost looks photorealistic. But something in the cover makes me not like it as much as his regular ones. But last time I felt so. Many others thought the exact opposite, and it went very well in the best cover vote. So it's more likely that this is an art style that is not my favorite one, but not a lot of other people love it. This features a new Team Fantomen story, Smoke Over Bengali. It is written by a new Phantom creator, Bernd Friends, and art is done by the Team Fantomen veteran Himalayas Bade. I think Bade does great landscape and background illustrations, but I'm not super fond of the way he draws humans. Well, this story, it's about this, it's based on something that happens in real life, at least that's what Andrea says. That logging corporation cut down trees that are illegal to cut down, and then they turn them into coal, since that is not checked the same way as planks is. The story holds up in my opinion, but I don't think it's going to win Story of the Year. Then there is a side comic, The Red Pirate, that covers more than half of the pages of this comic book, and then the comic book ends up with another Fantomen story. Let's see here. Yes. The Wharf Rats, but it's not the Falk and Barry one from 1962. This is a remake done in 1999 by George Olsen and Fred Fredericks, based on that 62 story. So Falk is credited with the story, but they basically remade the old one. The art is uneven. Some panels looks just as Barry's one. That to say it's really great. Like this one, it almost looked like they have traced it, and some other panels are not looking as well, in my opinion. Then we have a preview of the next issue. It's a continuation of the 22 Phantom Saga. I'm looking forward to that, as always. And a side comic called Torgal that is a favorite with many Swedish fans. What time is it? Is it time for another Fantomen review with me, Mikael? No, we're gonna talk about other Swedish comics. So, last year, sadly, Claes Reimerthi passed away, and Fantomen got this in memorial issue. We also got in Sweden some other memorial issues, because Claes Reimerthi was a great Phantom writer, but he also wrote comics to other things. So we got this Agent X9 Modesty Blaze, and I can tell you that I'm not a Agent X9 avid reader. I think I flicked through a few of them, but they're usually in black and white. So, but I wanted to get this because, like, you get this forward about Claes Reimerthi written by Andreas. He's editor both of Fantomen and Agent X9. And there was some stories written by him. Let's go to it. We got, here's another in memorial text. So Carrie Drake, written by Michael Thieres, who we know is or was Claes Reimerthi, and art by Hans Lindahl, also Phantom creator. And here there's an image of them. And this was, it was quite okay story. And then we have Rip Kirby, but that's not by Claes Reimerthi. So, and then there was this Lady S. I don't think I read this because it was like part 10 or something. So it was not that much of Claes Reimerthi, but a little bit and a lot of text, and a good thing that I got it. And this week we got this issue of 91. That's a humoristic comic book, and this one is filled with the brim of things by Claes Reimerthi. So it's the first script he wrote, and it is the last script he wrote, and one of the favorite with also Hans Lindahl, but this is another character, Lille Fridolf, and then some text about Claes Reimerthi, and some more text, and some stories that have never been published, project he has done, and more text about him, and then some other odd stories, and then another 91 story that he himself liked. And here's an image of Fantomen, the Phantom, and other things he has written. And I really enjoyed this comic book. It was really fun and great stories all along. This is Hans Lindahl's take on Lille Fridolf. Really good compared to other Lille Fridolf I've read, and some nudity almost. But I like, and this is also fun, but I really liked, what was it here? Like this, some Phantom spoof things written by another Phantom creator, Pidde Andersson, and art by Joakim Gunnarsson. So that was nice touch to say goodbye, basically. And this is a nice image of him, and yeah, funny stories. So if you're a Claes Reimerthi fan, these 3 issues is a must. Otherwise, it's maybe just nice to know how much he meant to the Swedish comic book world. Thank you from me, and happy Fantoming.
Thank you, Mikael. That was great. I really appreciate your reviews. For those who may be wondering, there hasn't been any Regal or Shatki comics released since our last Comics and News podcast, which will mean hopefully that this podcast won't be as long because we're not playing as much catch up. Now let's move on over to the daily and Sunday progress. Now, the Sunday story. We're going to start off with this. Now, this is going to be our official apology. So, Tony, for those who have come in late, the last Comics and News podcast, and I say we in the sense that Stephen and Dan, who are supposed to be more proficient in English than what I am, stuffed up the way to pronounce.
At least we tried.
So, this is, and Tony was so disgusted with the way that we butchered this name that he sent a long email.
It was
protesting.
two sentences.
It was 2 sentences.
The link.
And he gave us a link which had a YouTube version of how to say the word. So, Stephen and Dan, this is your chance to save face and to prove that you're good students as well as good teachers, and to be able to pronounce it properly for all of our listeners out there.
And you're going to play the YouTube clip immediately after we do this to prove how we went, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I reckon last time I was going ingenues, but I'm now going to try Anjun. I got nothing.
You're stuffing me up now. Ingenue.
No jokes for those.
Ingenue.
There's no S on the end. Oh, there is an S on his, but there wasn't on the word.
Stephen practiced this for a good 5 minutes before we press record.
Yeah, and that was wise. I should have.
Ingenue.
Okay. That sounds right.
Ingenue. Ingenue. Ingenue.
All right. So for those,
What's it mean again?
It's an innocent or naive.
That's right.
woman.
So for those who have come in late, this is issue or Sunday story number 192, pronounced the way that the guys.
Ingenue. At
He's
least
still
we're having a go.
I'm not having a go. So basically, it is a bunch of Maori girls who are proving that they have got what it takes, and so they have come to Morristown and are seeing the sights. And we are going to be taking up the story from where we left from the last podcast, and basically it's a running commentary as we go. So we've got the creep who has been stalking them and wants to sell them into slavery, and then the Phantom is rough on roughnecks. Guys, take it over with your thoughts.
You go, Steve.
Are we going week by week as you
I
scroll through?
just talk, and if there's anything you want me to raise or anything like
I do
that.
like how as the stories progress, the Maury girls have got a name around town. People know who these people are, and they're letting him go do what they want, really. But they're still sleeping out in the park, and no one seems to be bothering them. But they're getting a bit of ice cream, and everyone's being nice, and we can see the Phantom is just keeping an eye on them, letting them do their thing. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in the hospitality of Moreton, that no one's offered them a place to stay. They're still sleeping out in the park.
Yeah, I was going to also raise the fact that they seem to be, everybody knows about them now. The bar, that's the Maury girls. They've come to the club, that sort of stuff. So, it's an interesting one because they are, as you say, getting a name around town. I've probably parked to one side a little bit about their camping or their accommodation situation.
I didn't think of it until I just saw it.
Yeah. The page you've got up there, German, I'm not sure what the date of that particular Sunday
20th of February.
20th of Feb. I really like this page because it's got the Phantom walking the streets of an ordinary man, as an ordinary man, in 3 or 4 different get-ups. And we've often talked about the bomber jacket versus the trench coat and all of this sort of stuff. But here we actually have the Phantom as a construction worker. He's in a suit. He's a tourist looking for birds in the park or whatever. He's in the background of every panel, but is dressed differently and is as Steve said, sort of accompanying, spying on, watching over the Maury girls as they go about their business in the city. But I thought that really spoke to me as this is how the Phantom would actually blend into the city environment by looking slightly different all the time.
So, how did he get the
looking
parcel?
ordinary?
How did he get the parcel?
Ordinary, yeah.
That's the question I have. Is did he like pay someone and said, "Give me your costume, I'm going to deliver this thing for you," or
it's just a box. It just
fished it out of a bin.
Is this the reason why Australia?
He's gone through a recycling bin and put a box back together so he could carry it around.
Or is this the reason why Australia Post sucks so much? Because they're just letting every ordinary man deliver their postage, their postal envelopes and parcels, and while we have to wait months on months for our stuff to arrive because it gets lost, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just rock up and get stuff delivered.
Move parcels around.
It must be said that was it this one here? We've got Pete and Jamie Diaz, who are long term, and everyone knows who they are, of Phantom fans from the US. It was nice to see. Excuse me, Phantom fans that people recognise in the line.
How many cameos is this now for Pete Klaus in just the Sunday or the newspaper strips?
Oh, it'll probably be about 4 or 5. He was in what was it? The Briefcase. This one, one of the Nomad stories. I can't remember. I think there's 3 that comes to mind, and then of course this one as well. Sure. Yeah.
And this is the second one for Jamie, is that right? Jamie was also in the
spy ship.
Yeah, the ship one.
However, one of the things I think we probably need to talk about is this here, which is the badge of the Jungle Patrol. Now, for me, I don't mind the fact that there's a Jungle Patrol badge. What concerns me is the fact that it has Commander underneath it.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes sense that every Jungle Patrol, whether they're in their jungle patrol attire or whether they're in civvies like the Phantom is, to be able to say, hey, look, yeah, Jungle Patrol, and then people are like, oh, sweet, yep, know who you are, let you do whatever you want to do and all that. But the fact that it says Commander underneath, I'm just like, well, it's supposed to be the unknown Commander. But that's me nitpicking.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I agree with everything you've said. Maybe if it had just been a UC for unknown commander, and that's a little in-joke that we would have got, but the bouncer's not going to recognise that, or even just a blank nameplate. Yeah. But I agree. I got a little bit of a double take when I read the word commander there. That's, yeah. What if he is killed on this mission and suddenly he's got his Jungle Patrol commander badge on him? That's not cool.
Now, on this panel, which is today's at the time of recording, which is the 13th of March, we talk a fair bit about panel identification and stuff like that. And when we were talking about Percy's stories, we're talking about how he did the borders of the panel. The two guys are on the phones, and the panels are kind of, what would you call it, dissected by the little lightning bolts which indicate, noise from the phone and all that. I just thought that was just a small little detail which probably goes unnoticed when most people look at it, but I liked it.
And it's also mirrored, or whatever you want to call it, or in the second panel there where he's talking on the phone, and the person on the phone has got the jagged lines. So
yeah. Now, another question, Jeff, did you have to go to the nightclubs to research this couple of panels? It would be interesting whether he, I can almost, we joked before during the podcast, I can always picture him, talking to his wife, says, "Oh, yeah, I just got to go out to the clubs," and she's like, "Well, what for? Why are you going to the clubs?" And he goes, "Oh, it's for the Phantom. I got to research the clubs for the Phantom." I wonder if that just would have, she would have said, "No, Jeff." but look, I think the story has built up to a good point, and I really feel like we're starting to see the payoff, for the lack of a better term, in the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to it.
You can see the action's about to hit.
Yeah.
And it's preemptive, I think, and the more it goes, you're seriously going to go after them.
Yeah.
You're in for a world of hurt, like sitting right there behind the Phantom's shoulder. That picture that you showed just then, where are you getting those images from? Because if you go on to Comics Kingdom at the moment, they don't put them in the rectangle like that.
No, I think they're trying to get it more phone friendly. That's my read on what Comics Kingdom are doing now. They're trying to produce it in the portrait style rather than the landscape. And I guess that's so people can read it on their phones.
I could read it on my phone fine before, the way they used to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. It's a bad idea. Maybe that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Look, where I get them from is the phantomtrail.com. So if you like them in the I guess the square pose,
the traditional format.
Yeah, go to the phantomtrail.com. All right, so moving on to Death in the Himalayas. While I'll bring that up, one of you want to start talking about what you think about this story, where it's heading?
Can't accuse of this one being too text heavy. There's been a whole week without any lyrics, without any words, and I didn't even realize it until it was mentioned in a social media post by I think Mike. I think.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is this here. So, what's the name?
Savannah.
I was going to say Sandal, but
no,
Dan would have had a heart attack if Sandal.
No, this is a good character.
So we've got here on the 2nd of Feb, shoots Jamper, and then from the 11th, on the 12th, on the 14th, on the 15th, on the 16th, on the 17th, on the 18th, on the 19th, on the 21st, on the 22nd, all the way to the 23rd. So that's almost 2 weeks, actually, when you actually look at it. There is not, it's, super slow motion. Who was that action director? Was it John Woo or something?
John Woo, yeah.
And then whenever he did like action movies, there was always that super slow-mo. You would always have like a bird fluttering, which would take forever to flutter. It almost is reminiscent of that, of just like that real slow motion. Let's spend 2 weeks on 1 second. It was interesting. It really gives you a good impact. And I think it tells you an important background of Savannah as well. And you understand why she is such a tortured soul.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. And as you flick through it now, German, and the YouTube watchers will be able to see this, you've basically got the same panel on the left-hand side of Savannah looking at her as she pulls the trigger, basically, across those nearly 2 weeks, as you've said. And it's that backstory that you see all of the thoughts that are flashing before her eyes in that moment she pulls the trigger. And it's a really powerful sequence. It'll be fascinating to see how that looks in comic book form. And I always look forward to the daily story in particular in comic book form rather than comic strip form, because it's a different dynamic seeing it all in a moment at a glance rather than a day at a time.
Yeah. At a day at a time, and we've talked about it countless times when we've done the reviews of the daily stories, is that you can be really, you can almost miss the point only reading a panel at a time. But when you go back and read it, you get such an emphasis on the hatred. And, look, I've enjoyed it more, and maybe I'm part of the microwave generation, but I've enjoyed it more when I can flick through each panel for the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So then the next kind of plot of this is when the school teacher kind of comes back, and looks like they're getting started for a few more deaths in plural, which means that I think the next couple of weeks are going to be probably a little bit exciting as well. So I'm interested to see where this is going, and it looks like Kit has found himself in the middle of a little bit of a war going on, and this has probably got something to do with the curse or the prediction that basically this is going to be the end of the Walker line as well. So you can almost see how the death in the Himalayas lends itself to the end of the Walker line. So, yeah.
What I like about this sequence, if you go back and forward again there, Jim, over these last few days, probably as far as that, and is what Kit's wearing. He's got it's not a trench coat, but it looks very much like a trench coat, and he's got the hat on. He's into that phantom mode and wearing the clothes of the traditional ordinary man. And you can see his eye in that first panel there, but he can't see it in the next one. It's just these little bits are sifting in or drifting in, where he's becoming more elements of the Phantom or more elements of Mr. Walker are coming into Kit Jr. there.
Almost looks a bit like Indiana Jones.
It looks more like the Phantom.
Yeah, no, it's a good point about, he's got his eyes shown there, but I see what you're kind of saying with no, it's a very good point.
It's just beginning to drift in, just kind of not quite there, but drifting in and out.
So, quick question. I think this is the last panel. When we saw the title panel at the start about the death in the Himalayas, what was your thoughts it was going to be? Did you think it was going to be Jumper?
No,
I always thought it was going to be Kit.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they were trying to get us to think it was Kit, and I was hoping it was Savannah.
You really got it in for fan.
No. I quite like Savannah, but I really didn't want it to be Kit, and Jumper didn't
else could have been.
Yeah. Now,
just like warm beaches never occurred to anyone, even though it's been in the stories for the last however many years.
So tell us about this bit, Stephen or Dan.
Dan, you do it, mate.
Only because I've got the email from Tony ready to share. Because I think we just need to stop for a moment and recognise the long game that Tony DePaul plays when he is writing for the Phantom. And I share this for no other reason than to demonstrate that. I'm certainly not trying to say, Tony DePaul sends me emails or anything like that, but it was just a moment where he has taken the time to show us, I guess, a little bit behind the scenes for himself. So he explained to us that why the character of Jumper even exists is because he needed a reason for Savannah to go to the Mountain City. And way back in 2016, August 24th of 2016, he introduces the character of Jumper, who's bullying Kit. And then also in 2016, so November 2016, for no real reason, he says that he wishes to retire to a country with warm beaches. And the way Tony's explained it to us is that's a little thing that he just put in the story almost just in case he wanted to use it later. And here we are 6 years later where he's gone, oh, that's a quirky thing that this character says. So we know something odd about him. Savannah would never know that when the Phantom talks about Jumper with a verbal tick about warm beaches, it's her Jumper, the one that she's been hunting her whole life. So when she hears that same phrase, retiring at a country with warm beaches, and the Phantom says it again here in November 2021, it leads to, and here we are again, an old policeman who wants to move to the beach. That's the phrase that the Phantom has shared in his delirium to when he was recovering from the wounds that he had received when he was with Savannah, rescuing her from Gravelines. He's said, oh, there's this policeman who wants to retire to warm beaches, and she's twigged, oh, that's my man that I've been hunting my whole life, and so seeks him out. So when Tony DePaul's written this story where we think Savannah's chasing after Kit for some reason, no, she's got no interest in the Phantom's son. She's got interest in this policeman who, and ties back to her original story from 2008 or whatever it was when she was originally written. So it's just, it's an amazing long game that Tony plays. And you said before, Germ, about missing out on beats in a story. Like, unless you're paying very close, it's 6 years. It's just remarkable that marker was put in place by Tony DePaul all that time ago. He's kept a hold of it and used it when he needed to. It's unreal.
Now, the other unreal thing is how you can get away with having close to 4,000 unread emails in your inbox.
There you go. Yeah. No, there's a lot of junk there. I'm not going to lie to you.
Stephen, anything else you want to add before we move on to the news section?
Nah, nothing else to add. Well done, Tony. You got us all with that one.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have said it any better. For those who are only listening to audio, do yourself a favour and bookmark this time period. Go over to YouTube and actually have a look at what Dan just kind of flicked through, because he gave the examples going from image examples of going from that period of time. It is worth doing. All right, so we're in our news section, and I think we're actually doing pretty good for time as well. So the first, well, we didn't start exactly on time at the turn of the clock, so we're not up to 2 hours yet. So I think we're doing good for time. So the first bit of news that we want to talk about is the news that kind of came out about a month ago, which is that we're going to see some NFT artwork. Now, that is not WTF, that is NFT. So Cy Barry is going to be the first Phantom artist who is going to be doing some NFT artwork. Now, Dan, did you want to bring up the newspaper, all the articles that we've kind of talked about while we discuss it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Now, for those who don't know, we've got an article explaining what NFT is. Basically, it's digital art that is, what would you say? That is a non-interchangeable unit of data stored on a blockchain. So
that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it can be sold and traded.
What can?
NFT data can be sold or traded. Look, if you go onto our website, we've explained it in the technical terms, but then we've also linked, for instance, there's a kind of like an NFT.
This bit here is the most honest thing that you've said.
Yes, and look, let's be truth be told,
we're still getting their heads around it. I've got no idea.
So look,
and NFT's been around like for a year or so now.
No.
I mean, this type popularized in the last year or so with digital art and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I know NFTs have been around, but why? Like, I don't see any point to it.
No, I don't either. And I'm sure much smarter people than me, people invest in this stuff and whatever. But how can you not just take a screenshot and you've got the?
So yes, you can make a copy of it, and you can do screenshots and stuff like that, but you're not buying. I don't want to say the original because it's digital, but
you're still not getting the original. You just
So
get it's got a code on it.
but yeah. So there's like a code on it, which means you can take a screenshot and you can probably stick it on your phone. But kind of it's the same as, say, if you own original bit of artwork, which I got a couple behind me. So there's nothing stopping Dan taking a photo of it, but I own the original. And then the beauty, I guess, one way of looking at it, the beauty about having it in a digital original is that the fact that it doesn't fade, doesn't get destroyed in fires and stuff like that. And you said it as well, that now I'm not an expert in the area. I still don't quite understand it, but I'm a little bit younger than you, so that might be the reason why I sort of understand it.
It's still a big whoop. It's a digital image.
Yeah.
What you want is the hard copy stuff.
Yeah. Well, look, all the oldies would agree with you.
And I'm not just saying that for Cyber. I'm saying that for everything in this NFT business.
But good on Cyber. We're recording this the day after his birthday, so happy 94th birthday, Cy. Love all of your work. And I hope that it's. Sorry,
we just don't understand it.
And look, I hope it's really, really profitable. And anyone who wants to get involved, good luck to you. I won't be doing that because I don't get it. Whatever. No, but good on Cy and his son David, obviously, for taking this leap forward. And I hope it works out to be really profitable. And I look forward to taking screenshots of any NFTs that are shared on Facebook.
And look, he's not the only Phantom artist who's been doing it. I'm pretty sure there's been a couple of others share things.
No, I think this is the first one.
No, I mean for actual Phantom stuff. This might be the first one, but other artists who have done the Phantom.
Oh, they're apparently a huge thing. Yeah,
it is a huge thing. So because you know how a lot of artists are going away from traditional means to digital means as doing it. So it's another avenue for them to be able to sell their artwork.
So in Jeff Weigel's terms, so that they're not leaving money on the table.
Yeah, exactly. So we've discussed, the importance of not leaving money on the table. So it gives them another avenue to be able to do that. There's can't remember some names. Look, there's a lot of people that are a lot more clued on in that area of other artists who are doing it and all that. But I've been following the trend for probably about a year, maybe 18 months, and I was wondering who was going to be the first artist. My guess was going to be someone like Luca or Jamie Johnson or something like that might have been the first one to go down the NFT route. But look, I'm very intrigued to see how it goes with Cy. But
Jim, you've probably got more original art than certainly than us two put together, plus most listeners. You've got original art on the walls, you've got it in folders, you've got it in storage. Are you likely to ever purchase an NFT? No. You can put it on a hard drive?
No, I wouldn't. But I'm for me, I like. Well, actually, my favourite is either painted or pencils, purely because I believe you see more of the artist in either paints or pencils than you do in, say, inks, because the inks is kind of like the finished product, where the pencils you see the mistakes, you see every stroke, you see what's been rubbed out, what's been erased, you've seen how they use 2 or 3 different strokes to try and make one stroke, and it's the same as with paint and stuff like that as well. So that's my favourite means of original artwork. But look, I'll tell you now, Cyberry will sell some NFT, and it probably won't go for the hundreds of thousands of some versions of that, but it will be profitable. Today I found out that the very first tweet is now an NFT.
Of course it is. Nothing stopping you from reading the thing.
So what's going to select in their pictures folder? I don't get it.
All right. Something that we get.
We could spend forever on that, and still get no further.
Something we do get is podcasts. And
really?
After 200,
apparently they're supposed to be short and sharp.
No, that's TikTok videos.
Oh, jeez. See, that's what I got on my wrist. That's a TikTok.
So getting back to the podcast, we're talking about the other podcast, which is the Phantom Never Dies podcast. Now, we have reported this on our website. The three of us listened to it. We've enjoyed it. In a minute, each of you tell us what you're enjoying about it, and for those who haven't listened to it yet, tell them why they need to listen to it. Stephen, you go first.
I've been enjoying it because it gives us a nice history of the character of the Phantom since its beginnings up till I'm going to assume up to today. We're up to the 90s at the moment, and it's good if you are a fan of the Phantom and have been following him closely. None of this is going to be overly new, but if you have some sort of awareness of the Phantom and you think, oh, this could be interesting, check out the podcast because you will learn a few things.
I think people who are an hour and a half into our podcast are not people who need to learn to listen to that other one to learn about the Phantom, because they're already armpit deep in the Phantom. Look, I think it's sensational. I really love it. It's half-hour episodes or 35-minute episodes, and it's important to say that it's not our Phantom podcast, as in, it's not what we do. It's a very different medium. It's an audio documentary, and you're absolutely right, Steve. Someone who has only had a passing awareness of the Phantom can listen to this, and I think personally, I think, obviously I'm biased, I think they'd be fascinated by what they're hearing about all the different elements of the history of the Phantom and what it was the first in and all the rest of it. I thought it really hit its straps with episode 4, which is the one that we've just listened to, or the one that's most recent as we record this. There's another one out tomorrow night, I guess, or Tuesday morning. Episode 4 was Uncle Kit, and I thought that the hearing the different voices that Maria Lewis, who's the producer and the host of the podcast, hearing the different voices that she's brought together, many of which we've spoken to at length on our podcast on Expand, and we're lucky enough to have had extended interviews with Glenn Ford and Cy Barry and Kevin Patrick Roy and all of these guys. But some of the other voices that she's also brought in, and as I say, particularly with episode 4, I think we've all at different times, every Phantom fan has probably at different times had to think about, what are the potentially racist undertones of the premise of the Phantom, and the way that it was explained by some of the Indigenous readers that Maria was able to track down and talk to. I thought that really spoke to me about how the Phantom character is different from the way perhaps a lot of people misinterpret it on face value. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I can't wait to hear episode 5 and 6 as well, and they'll be on high rotation for me for quite some time yet. Because like you said, Steve, and I know I'm well over my minute, Germ, sorry. But
this like is why said, our podcasts go for so long, because we don't know the concept of 1 minute.
Exactly. Like you said, Steve, there's been nothing that's been said that's been earth-shattering or groundbreaking, really, for me as a lifelong Phantom fan. But there's certainly been enough interest to go, that's a really cool perspective or a different lens on looking at it. So, no, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was a couple of, I can't remember what episode, but there were a couple of little bits or tidbits that she threw up which I hadn't thought of or hadn't realised before or didn't know maybe. But on the whole, it's very professionally done. Yeah, go and check it out.
Yeah. Episode 4 is probably my favourite as well. I really enjoyed, like, as you talked about, the hearing about it from the from Indigenous' point of view, Indigenous Australians' point of view. It was really encouraging to read that, because like I see it and I see some stories that have racist overtones from the past, like the 40s and 50s, but from a general point of view, I look at the Phantom and go, well, I'm white, so I don't really understand it as much as other people, but I didn't see that, and so it was encouraging, and I enjoyed kind of like, yes, I'm not just don't have my rose tinted glasses on. So, and it's very professional. They don't have people recording while kids are screaming in the background or recording in the car or anything
So
like
you can't
that.
hear the kids screaming in the background.
Yeah, but
Or they don't wake them up.
It's a great podcast for those who are either coming back to the Phantom or have, read the odd comic or something. It gives you a great understanding and a great foundation of the character. And then when you become a hardcore fan, with a PH, of course, that's when you probably listen to 2-hour podcasts like us. No worries. So let's move on to some exciting products. First one we want to talk about, Dan, I see you've got a new addition to your wall. Do you want to talk and show us your new addition to the wall?
I'm excited that you noticed that, Jerm. It's an hour and a half or so into the podcast, and here we are up on the wall behind me is my uncut sheet of Phantom trading cards. I really like this, or trading cards. They're called. They're not really trading cards. You haven't got yourself there. When you sell 27 cards or 28 cards, really, we should say, as a set. No one's trading these, but they're beautiful. We're of course talking about the Phantom Generations set with the art from Jeff Weigel that has come out from Frew in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
we've got a review up on our website as well and on YouTube if you want to have a look at it. But basically, that was just me talking about it. So we wanted to let Dan and Steve have a bit of a. Stephen, you've got yours as well, don't you?
Yep, I've got them here. They arrived this week. And they're very expertly done. The artwork's phenomenal. The card quality looks good. Great, I should say. I haven't had a chance to sit down and read the backs of all the cards with the biographies on the back of them. And I'm beginning to mellow a little bit on this idea of the costume now, and I've got a reason for it. Because I still see that, well, if we go to the last page of comics with the traditional skin-tight costume that they all wear. I've been able to accommodate that in my thinking in that what he's got first through to pretty much the 13th, 14th. Sorry? It's about 15, yeah.
15, yeah.
Up to about there. That's his European garb. That's his Mr. Walker kit that he's wearing when he goes to Europe. And the reason why I think that is because the other day you're asking about that story, Patrolman Aurora Germ. And so I was having a look at it and reading through it, and you look at the costume that the Phantom's wearing when he's over wherever he is. What's the name of the place? Navarre. And it's pretty much matches up with what Jeff's got the Phantom wearing in the cards. Like, I don't know if you can see it there, but I'm looking on page 8. He's got the clothes on, and you think maybe those clothes are actually purple. Maybe that's what he's wearing when he goes to Europe. And so now I've mellowed on my anti change the costume up because it's not the costume, it's his Mr. Walker gear.
It's a very interesting point you've made, Steve. I'm still on the no.
No, as in
I don't like it.
Look, I reckon the Phantom uniform is the Phantom uniform, but I can accept that as being the Mr. Walker uniform.
Yeah, I could accept that. Look, don't get me wrong. I think the cards are brilliant. I love the art. I've brought one of the pieces of art. I believe Jeff has still got some. So if there's a couple that you like and you would like to purchase it, contact Jeff. So yeah, I like the art. I brought one. I love the cards. The cards are great, but I'm still, and this is going to be me becoming an old fart. I'm still, a traditionalist in the sense that the Phantom has to, the Phantom costume has to be like that. However, in saying that, I could live with the Mr. Walker side of things that you're probably talking about, Steve, and you could almost make me sit on the fence with your argument.
And I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and say I actually think that this makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense, yes.
Yeah, and I like the fact that pub test, if you like, for me is, would it fit the caveat of a grandfather saying to his grandchild, or grandfather saying to his grandchild, I saw the Phantom when I was a child and he looked like that. And I think if you look at any three, any of these three apart, like grandfather to grandson, it's close enough that someone with an 80-year-old memory would go, yeah, that's exactly the same. That looks so. It works for me, and I like that the first Phantom is actually really quite close to the skin tight garb, as it would have been done, with the fabrics that are available of the time. And I hear what you're saying, Steve, about the Mr. Walker garb. I can go with that to an extent, but I just think that it makes a lot of sense. It ticks the box of grandfather to grandchild, recollection. And so I actually, I'm probably starting to feel like I'd be happy to look back at the Wilson McCoy and the Cy Barrys where they've shown past Phantoms in the skin type garb and go, well, that was what they thought at the time, but now we're moving more in a direction where it's a more realistic for the time period costume.
Look, I'm not quite ready to make this Phantom law. I think it would, for me to be able to accept it as Phantom law, which I think is kind of like the question we're all kind of dancing around, is it would have to be done in a few other newspaper stories. So Mike Manley and Jeff would have to do past Phantom costumes using Jeff's designs. And then it would also have to be represented in some Team Phantom Men stories or Frew stories.
But Frew are doing it. Jason Paulos is doing that with his Gaslight.
It's an alternative universe.
Yeah, but we just said before that was an alternative what if universe, probably about an hour ago. So, so for me, until it kind of creeps its way into other stories, I'm of the opinion that it's a quirky one-off story. And I understand that, you're probably going to say, well, it's been done in products. And I understand it's been done in products, but there's also a red costume and a yellow costume and a blue costume. So that's where I kind of sit, is that I'm not ready to accept it as official Phantom law yet. When it starts to... And
you've already mentioned that you love the cards. As a product themselves, they're a must-have for anything.
Yes. Yeah. Argument aside, I think I gave them as a 4.5 out of 5.
Why'd you dock the 0.5?
Yeah, where'd you lose?
So the 0.5 was due to the fact that some of the biographical information was incorrect.
That's very opinionative. I think that.
Well, no. There is actually some information that's incorrect. Like, was it on the 8th or the 9th? Or was it the 7th and the 8th? Barry Stubbersfield says that the Phantoms, Lee Falk mixed up the Phantoms. It was supposed to be actually the 6th and the 7th that he mixed up the Phantoms, not the 7th and 8th. There was also some of the other information.
That's funny. Mixing up which ones got mixed up.
Yeah.
So around the 6th, 7th, and 8th Phantom.
Yes, which we all kind of know.
It was the same, man.
Yeah. Look, and when we talked about in our last podcast that we've just done, we've actually highlighted some of those. Like for instance, you had the 3rd, the 4th, and the 11th marry the same woman. Yeah. You've had the 1st and the 2nd marry the same woman as well. So look, Lee Falk did confuse a lot of things. Also, I think it was the 12th Phantom or the 11th Phantom. No, it was the 11th Phantom. Barry Stubbersfield says that the Phantom married an Indian maiden, and then he talks about his wife dying, who was actually the Venetian woman. So he's kind of mixed two women and merged them into one as well. So there was a couple of things that I didn't quite agree with, but they're very minor, and that's why it was only a 0.5, because everything else
I think you've been overly harsh, and that should have been a point to it most.
Fair enough. But yeah, look, like you said, Dan, minor squabbles aside, they are an amazing set. I really enjoyed them. They fit very nicely with my Phantom cards, and I'm very happy especially with the price that you pay as well.
No, they're good value. So a couple of questions then for the group. I'm very proudly displaying my uncut sheet up on the wall there. Personally, I actually think that the uncut sheet is better than the cards, because I really like having them up as a poster up on the wall that you can stand and look at and look through, rather than flick through as a set of trading cards.
Shouldn't you have got two so you can put them back to front next to each other?
I have seen people who have put them in a double glass frame, and those exist, and they're actually pretty cheap to get from Kmart or Big W or whatever. So you could turn it around and read the back if you like. I didn't bother with that because I can read the back of the ones in the folder if I ever bother, and it's not really about the writing for me; it's the artwork. So I just love the way it looks standing up on the wall there, and I'm going to admit publicly to being nerdy enough to have spent 10 minutes just standing there gazing at.
I don't think anyone's questioning your nerdom.
No. Are either of you guys likely to get the uncut sheet as well?
I've got the uncut. The uncut sheet as well. It hasn't arrived yet, but yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. It takes a while to flatten down again because it's quite a stiff cardboard, obviously, and comes rolled up, but well worth doing. You said before, Jem, that you have got the cards stored in. So, which folder did you put them in? In a file cards folder, in a universe folder, or with one of the?
I've put them in one of my custom folders, which has got other random Phantom cards in it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put it in my universe or my file card because it's not a universe or a file card.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, have you because you still haven't put yours in a folder yet? Have you got plans as to where they're going?
I was planning on putting them in the folder that we got with the layers. What's the
gallery?
Yeah, series 2. That's what I was planning on putting in.
Yeah, I reckon it would fit better in a gallery folder than it would a file card or a universe card folder.
Yeah, that was my idea. Put them in there.
What did you think about the fact that when they arrived, they're already in the sheets?
Good, that was great. Man, I didn't have to use my other ones.
Because the sleeves are so annoying. Like, you used to be able to just go to the newsagent and pick up sleeves. But now they're a lot harder to pick up the sleeves. You got to go on eBay is probably your best bet. You can usually pick up You
can get them at I can get them at my comic shop. Or you can get them at Zing.
You can get them from a website.
Or you can get them from Frew. Yeah.
But look, they're not as easily readily available as they used to be. Like, I remember when I was buying footy cards and Phantom cards, I used to just be able to pick up a couple of packs and pick up a couple of the sleeves that were right next to it. But a lot of newsagents don't stock the sleeves as much. So I thought it was great. Meant they were protected. I got mine with part of my Frew subscription.
Yeah, so did I.
So it meant like the comic kind of acted as a board to protect it, so it didn't get bent. So look,
mine came with a graphic novel, so it worked the same way.
Yeah. And it's great because it means that most people have subscription. Most of the people that are going to buy it have subscriptions. So in a sense, they've saved on postage as well, which is a smart way of doing it.
Well, I guess to play devil's advocate, as I am so wont to do, I probably would have liked it. Send the 4 sleeves, but send the 28 cards, and I say 28 because the 28th one is the title card. Send the 28 cards separately. I enjoy the process of sorting through the cards and putting them in the folder. It's part of the touchy feeliness, I guess, of going through the collection. Otherwise, it arrived and I'm like, oh, right. So I just put that in the folder and I'm done. If I talk about my file cards, this is a little Mikael soul throne that I store my spare file cards in before I get a chance to put them in their folder. So I like opening the packets, sorting through them, looking at each one in turn, slipping it in the pocket.
I must admit, I like that too.
You can still buy what do you call it? Boxes of the gallery set. So maybe you just need to buy a couple more of those.
No, I have those, but I've already sorted through and got my sent to them.
All right. So moving on to other products and stuff that you can buy. Boss Fight Studios is posting Wave 1.0 and also Wave 1.5 out at the moment. Now, some US fans have already got Wave 1.0 and Wave 1.5, and they're on YouTube. We've also got an article on our website as well. Apparently, the orders have been so great that they've actually had to hire a new staff member to help pack, which is it can only be a great thing. The other thing, if you ordered them through Boss Fight Studios as part of your pre-order, you probably have, or you probably will soon receive an email saying that because these were ordered back in 2019, we're now 3 years still in the middle of a pandemic. Shipping rates have gone skyrocketed, and they can't actually ship them to Australia using the previous charge that you paid for shipping. So they give you an option.
They've actually had to change company.
Yeah.
What's happened? It's not just the charge; they've had to change the company.
So did you receive that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do, Steve?
Well, nothing yet. I've got to sort that out. I'm still ticked off that they're charging me more for a thing I thought would be coming. I'm actually really annoyed.
Yeah, I must admit I'm a little bit annoyed as well, and I would have preferred, and I know they're going to lose money, but I would have preferred that if Boss Fight Studios just honoured that. That's the whole point of a pre-order.
How much extra are you been asked to pay?
Well, to be honest, I've asked for a quote and I still haven't received it, and that was 3-4 days ago. I've actually contacted Eric and just said, "Hey, what's going on?" Yeah. But I think if you're
really ticked off about it,
if you pay for a pre-order, we all know that things go up in price. That's not our problem. That, from what I see, is that it's a Boss Fight Studios problem, and they should honour the pre-order. That's how I personally see it.
When you've already paid for the postage, everything was quoted, everything's done.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, yes, the pandemic's happened, and that's been devastating for everyone. In that, we don't want to pay extra for something that we've already paid for.
Yeah. So I must admit, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. I've expressed some of my concerns directly to Eric. Haven't really received a response. So he said he's going to get back to me on some of them. So yeah. But I'm kind of with you, Steve. We're not on the fence on that one. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but the good news is that Wave 1.0 and Wave 1.5 has been delivered to Boss Fight Studios, and they are shipping them out. That is great news, and that is very exciting. 2022 is still the year for the figurine.
Yeah. I didn't end up going the pre-order, so now I'm curious to see if the product, when it turns up in my local comic store, which is I've had it on order there,
whether that goes up,
whether that's more expensive than when initially planned.
I wonder for those big companies that have done pre-orders, i.e., let's just say
your Icons,
Icon, the comic book shops and all that, whether they have to pay extra for shipping or whether they get it at the same price.
He does mention in his email that they've got some sort of deal with Icon, so if you want to cancel your pre-order and go through them, you may. I think this is getting...
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, and that's just getting messy.
Yeah.
Just send me my stuff.
Yeah. Look, to be fair, they do make... Yeah, it's first world problem. To be fair, they do make mention of that in the email, but I think a little bit of goodwill can go a long way, and you might lose out, but then it's kind of like, hey, an email saying, hey, look, this is the option. You could cancel it and we can give you money back. Or if you still want to do it, we're going to have to go down this route. It is going to cost extra, but we're going to cover it. Then we will be singing the praises of Boss Fight and how, and how awesome they are, and they're covering the costs, and they'll be getting even more positive press rather than two disgruntled customers like Steve and Jermaine.
So when they put out their next one, we don't mind playing the next one because we realise this is happening. But it's left a bad taste in my mouth, and let's move on to some good news.
Yeah. So some other good news is Neca Defenders of the Earth Wave 2.0 is out in June, July, which is featuring Mandrake, Garax, and Lothar to go with Ming, the Phantom, and Flash. Oh, excuse me. Quickly, will any of you be buying them to complete the set?
I plan on it. I've still got to get the first wave. I got the all clear to buy the first wave, but I haven't got them yet.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I guess it depends if I've got money in the account when the local comic shop gets them in or asks if I want them in. I'm certainly not going to go chase them, but that said, I did get, I've obviously got a couple of Phantoms because I wanted one to display and one in the box, that sort of thing. I did get a Ming and a Flash Gordon in the box. The other three, if they turned up, I'd take them, I suppose, if I had money at the time. What about you, Germ?
I must admit, I'm a little bit on the fence as well. Like, I would rather buy the variations of the boss fight ones.
Yeah.
Because they are Phantom.
Yeah.
So they're my main priority. Again, if I've got money and I'm eyeing off a couple of art purchases at the moment, which will probably see me homeless or living in with a dog outside. So I probably won't be buying them straight away. But it's kind of like, I want to get the boss fight ones. I want to get the original Phantom one from Neca when it comes out. And then if I've still got money, or, I'm still married and live in a house and stuff like that, and then they're there, I would probably buy them. But it's not a huge priority for me.
No, and look, I'm not ever going to get those ones out of the box to pose and all the rest of it. So I guess Mandrake, then Lothar, then Garax is a distant third. I'd be possibly likely to pick up.
All right, some other news is that the LFMBEC dinner number 33 will be happening in June the 18th of this year, which will coincide with Supernova. Now, look, it's exciting news. They do a great job. We all wish we can go. We all want to go. The question, however, is, will we be going? Dan, are you going?
I actually think, because I saw that email came from Richard yesterday morning. Yep. I think that date clashes with a family matter that I need to attend to. So I don't think I'm going to be able to make it this year.
So in other words, if you do go, the family matter will be your funeral?
Yes, a week later. Yes.
Stephen? I know.
I'm in exactly the same boat as Dan. It does clash with a important family event.
Namely your wife's birthday?
Yes.
Look, I all in likely won't be going either. I've got two family members that are quite sick, that are basically dying, probably won't see out the end of the year. We are concerned still about COVID and getting it and giving it to them and quickening their haste. So it's probably a risk that is probably not the most wisest decision, or it's a risk, not the wisest thing to risk, and getting them sick and quickening that. So I'm probably a likely not. Unfortunately, I would love to go. Love Sydney Supernova. Love the dinners. Didn't get to go last year. Didn't get to go the year before. It's going to be a big gap. And I've told the wife that basically, if they're still alive this time next year, tough luck, I'm going.
So that is a real shame, because we've enjoyed catching up there in the past, and it is a fantastic weekend. So it's a shame that none of the three of us are going. I'm sure that we'll be able to find someone in the X-Band universe that will attend and record any of the speeches or the panels and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll still be able to bring some fantastic Supernova and Leafhawk Memorial Bangala Explorers Club dinner content for everybody on the podcast. But unfortunately, looking like we won't be actually there to record it ourselves.
And while we're talking about that, it is worth giving a shout out to Sean Bassett, who was able to record the Supernova recording of Maria Lewis and Matt Kime at the March 2022 Melbourne Supernova. That will be our next podcast, which will be episode 215. So I was going to say that at the end, but I figure it probably makes more sense slipping in here. So thanks out to Sean.
It's not the first time Sean's contributed something like this, and really appreciate it. So good on you, Sean. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sean. So that will be our next podcast. All right, moving on. Stephen, this is going to be all you, my friend.
I've got breaking news. I never have news. Now I've got news.
So what's this news, Steve?
It's a bit of a long bow, a bit of a stretch, but I'm taking it. So the latest WWE video game was released this past week, WWE 2K22, and
what platform is that on?
Sorry,
what platform is that?
It's across all platforms.
Is that on a PlayStation 2? Can I get it on my PlayStation 2?
Nah, PlayStation 2 will be a bit of a stretch, but all the current platforms, so Xbox Series S and X, and probably Xbox One, you can get it on PlayStation, well, definitely 5, and I'm assuming 4. It's also available on Steam, and I'm going to assume on the Nintendo Switch, but I haven't seen anything for the Switch at the moment, but I've seen it on all the rest of it. So what's this got to do with the Phantom, I hear you ask?
Yes, what does it have to do
What does this have to do with the Phantom, Steve?
Wow. Back in 1997, this fella called Rey Mysterio, he wrestled another fella called Eddie Guerrero at a pay-per-view called Halloween Havoc on WCW. Now, what was interesting about this match, it's also a classic match, and go and check it out. But what was interesting about this match was Rey's attire, and it was very much inspired by the recently released movie at the time, The Phantom, and very much Billy Zane's Phantom because it has lots of markings all over his chest and what have you. It's not a direct replica of the Phantom's kit or the Phantom's uniform, but it definitely pays homage to the Phantom. And Ray's done this throughout his career since he's done as Daredevil, Batman, and Captain America and all that sort of stuff. But from what I can understand, the Phantom was first. And when hearing that this game was going to focus on Rey Mysterio, I was really looking forward to it. I was hoping against hope that they would include that match and that attire would be part of the match. And first match of the showcase where you play through Rey's career is that match, and out comes the uniform. And I was so happy. I'm there playing. And I've actually I was able to.
So did you tell the wife that buying the game was part of research?
She has no idea I've got it at the moment.
We are so in trouble if our wives ever decide to listen to our podcast.
So, what was I saying? Anyway, I played the game and it was great. I've been able to capture some minutes of gameplay, and if you watch that, you'll see me get pummeled, especially at the start, because I'm still trying to remember how the buttons work and trying to figure out the screen capture. Rest assured, I do win the match, but you don't get to see that bit. But what's really cool about this uniform, the belt, like there's always been an opportunity to create your own wrestlers in these wrestler games, and often you see Batman and people make Superman. I've tried to dabble, trying to make it a Phantom, and never really worked out that well. But having this costume readily available, like once you win the match, you get the costume to use in your creative wrestler suite. It really gives you a heck of a leg up to make your own Phantom character, and it's got the belt. The belt is awesome, and actually, I'll bring it up. I've actually got a image of it. Right.
So you're going to create an article for us and with some video.
I've written the article.
Everything.
I just haven't had the pictures to it if I want to be truthful about it.
Awesome.
So I want to do that screen there. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So that's in-game footage. So that's not a recording of the live match from back in 1997. That's the graphics from the.
So this is the graphics from the game that you played.
From the game.
This is you playing.
And this is me playing. And you can see the inspiration of the Phantom on Rey Mysterio's costume there. And looking down there, that belt, and I've got a closer up of it.
It's just missing a ring. It's the only thing, he's got the fist pose, and
I thought exactly the same thing.
It looks very much like the heavyweight champion, doesn't it? The story we talked about in the replica before, or the Masked Marvel. It does look like a Phantom's.
Yeah, and there's the belt there.
Well, there you go. I remember in a social media post the other day, probably a couple of weeks ago, we actually talked about would having Phantom skins
Yeah.
in games, help create a bigger awareness. So obviously WWE listened to us and and brought that in. That's a great find, Stephen. Glad to see that. If you ever need the excuse, it's for awful research purposes. So very good.
That's what it looks like in the creation suite.
Yeah,
Wow.
cool. And look, I don't know what sort of crossover there is between Phantom fans who are listening to this podcast and WWE fans, but I did go through a period in the early 2000s of enjoying. I hadn't seen that match before. I didn't realize that. But I certainly enjoy Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, but Rey Mysterio in particular is one of my favorite wrestlers. And the idea that I could get a phantom-looking character to be performing Rey Mysterio moves in the wrestling ring, that's a lot of fun. He's agile and he's an entertainer.
Absolutely.
I
And
look forward
also,
to
it's
reading
not the first time that costume has been in a wrestling video game. WCW NWO Revenge on the Nintendo 64 in about 1998. It was also an alternative attire for Rey Mysterio back then. So I remember a mate of mine had that game and thought, hang on, he's wearing a Phantom suit. What's going on here?
Very cool.
Very good. All right, so moving on, some other news we have. We've only got a couple more, so please bear with us. Quickly.
I thought this was only going to go for an hour.
It was a quick one. I was going to throw extra stuff in. I'm glad we skipped over
it. Germany, there's an author from Germany, Christian, I believe his name is, who's creating a German book basically on the Phantom's history in the country. This is going to be very, very detailed. It talks about the German Heft series from the German Bastille series. Christian Blees. I knew it was Christian. So this is a little bit about him. He's written on our website about the book, about himself and everything as well. Look, there's two different versions of the book. You can either buy the regular one for €30 or the extra one, which has got an extra couple of 20 pages, I believe it is, which has got the wedding story published in Germany, which is the first time I believe that story has actually been published in Germany as well. Look, it's going to be an interesting read. Obviously, for us who are dumb and only know one language, it's probably just going to be a nice coffee table reference book. But if you are from Germany, or you can read German, or you are a historian who is going to learn Germany, just to be able to read this, I think it's going to be a very inspirational, a very awesome read. And I will be getting myself one. And I'm looking forward to having a flick through that.
So, history of the publication of the Phantom in Germany.
Yes, which is actually quite larger than what most people most people understand.
Yeah, as you pointed out on our last podcast with Peter Mennigan, and being one of the most prolific Phantom authors in the world that so many people have never heard of. So, the Bastille series, and we know that they stray from
official lordom
in terms of how many Phantoms there have been and that sort of thing, which is a relatively big deal. The current Phantom being the 21st is one of the first things you learn. For Germany, they're at the 16th or 15th. Yeah, so that's not insignificant, but it sounds like a fascinating book to flick through at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. Another bit of information, trying to cut through it because I know Stevens wants to focus on the next one. Is David Bishop is writing a Phantom story where he visits New Zealand again. So as you would probably understand, he was the author of Red Zone, which was a story featuring some women that looked like the Marshall sisters, acted like the Marshall sisters, and the Phantom battled them in New Zealand, which was the first time in a story that has been published that the Phantom was in New Zealand. This story will be a historical story where it will be Julie Walker in New Zealand. We've got a link on it on our website. Now, what's actually interesting is if you can remember, and I'm sure there will be fans that will remember, but back in podcast number 117, which is 97 episodes ago, David Bishop actually talked about this story and other Phantom stories that he wanted to create, including the Phantom visiting Australia again, for a full 8 minutes. Now, the podcast was much longer than that. We'll say that up front. But
They always are.
if you are interested to hear what he talked about, and I actually re-listened to the podcast to find this 8 minutes and devoured it, listened to it twice and thought, oh, that sounds good, and heard the bit of the backstory about it. Go to our website. You can find an article where we've linked to the audio and all that as well. It's worth digging out. Carrie Lepinan has sent through some images, some examples of the characters and of Julie Walker and everything like that in this story. So check the website out and you will enjoy it. Our last bit of fan news is that Paul Mason's Kickstarter has met its fund goal. Now, the reason why we make mention of this is, one, we're all Paul Mason fans, but also it's still open, and some of the levels of add-ons and of the levels and stuff like that have Phantom elements in there. So I know myself, and I believe you also, Dan, has pledged.
Yep.
I pledged to get some Phantom stuff. So it was kind of cool to be able, you can get signed comics, you can get posters that have all got Phantom elements as well. So, you know, if you are a Paul Mason fan, you'll probably enjoy the story. I like Commando comics. This kind of feels like there's a bit of a Commando war theme going on as well. But I also was also able to get a cool poster. And I got one of the commission levels as well. So I'm excited about it. And if you want to get some Paul Mason artwork and some signed comics and stuff like this might be something for you to look at as well. Stephen, have you pledged yet?
I haven't yet. Had a few bills this past fortnight, and I haven't actually pledged.
Like Paul Mason?
Sorry?
Don't you even like Paul Mason?
Don't you go putting words in my mouth there, Daniel Fraser.
So when does Dan, while you've got it there, scroll up to the top, and how many days have we got left?
25th. So
25th of March. So 11 more days at the time of recording, but 25th of March if you are listening to this after the fact.
Yeah. And I was speaking with Paul the other day, and so the money doesn't actually come out until the 25th, of course. I often forget about that with Kickstarters, that you don't actually pay for it. Like, you say you pledge it, and then it comes out on X day. So I should go ahead and pledge. And when I pledge, I'm going to pledge for the soldiers, the one that's got the Soldiers Legacy
Back catalogue?
Back catalogue, that's what I'm looking for. Mainly because it's more Paul Mason work, and it's Paul Mason work that I don't have at the moment. So I want to read those.
I'm with you. That's the pledge level I went through because I think I've got one or two Soldiers Legacy comics, and I wanted to get the rest of those. There's and people will be saying, "Oh, this is not Phantom news," but it actually is, because he's actually done it quite cleverly, I think, in terms of the pledge levels and the different options. Because there's a Soldier Legacy option for people like Steve and I, but there's also commission levels. There's Kid Phantom levels, so you can pledge and get back copies of Kid Phantom. This one is all sold out, it would seem, but the Battlefield bundle included a copy of the Phantom 1830, which was the annual that had the first Phantom in Vietnam story that Paul did. So, and then there's, of course, and I've scrolled past them now, but the posters, here we are. Some of the posters that Paul is displaying in the Brisbane City Library are also available at the pledge level too. So you can pick up an A1 poster of A1 size poster of the Phantom in Vietnam, or the Phantom is or Kid Phantom artworks as well. So I know that some people have said, "Oh, well, you know, how are you leaning on the Phantom to sell your other thing?" It just makes sense to me that everyone
does it.
Yeah, you talk about work you've done before to promote your next work. It's completely sensible.
And most
whether-
people have signed covers or comics from when they go to Supernova and all that. It's just it gives you a chance to be able to get the other Kid Phantom comics signed, and there's sketchbooks, there's sketch covers, there's work in progress books. Look, lots of Phantom stuff to not just Kid Phantom, but Vietnam as well to add to your collection. And majority of people do like it. So
and we know now that the Flock, which looks like an interesting comic book in itself, is definitely going to be published now because it's already, as you said, it's already passed its minimum level. And I think has achieved 2 out of its 3, what's the word for them? Extension
stretch
level?
goals.
Stretch goals, thank you. So it's already achieved 2 out of the 3 and is within sight of the 3rd. So there's going to be lots of pages of what looks like a really interesting comic book, and you can choose a pledge level that suits yourself. And it looks good.
Another interesting point of news, another reason why we included this is because one of the updates, Paul Mason does make mention that he has just received the green light for some more Phantom short stories as well. So that's exciting because we've all loved the stories. So the fact that we're going to see some more, probably won't see him until 2023, but the fact that we're going to see some more is pretty exciting.
It will be interesting because the way Paul's talked about it in the past is there's actually a number of stories that Frew have already got. So we've, I think, seen 3 or maybe 4 Phantom and Vietnam stories. I got the impression there was closer to 8 or 9 that he'd already sent in. And he's got the green light for even more again. We could be looking at Phantom and Vietnam stories for years to come, which is very exciting.
Yeah, an upcoming graphic novel or trade paperback maybe.
That would be cool.
All righty. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for rabbiting on the Phantom with me. I hope you, our listeners, have enjoyed it and managed to stay with us. As always, you can find us on our website, which is chroniclechamber.com. Our email address is chroniclechamber@gmail.com. Let us know. Let us know whether you've enjoyed it, what you have enjoyed. We've asked some questions during the podcast, especially with the comics reviews. Let us know your feedback on that. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Press the bell. You know where the bell is. You'll be notified as soon as a podcast or a review gets up. If you prefer social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast apps. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, and we are on a few others as well. So thank you for listening. Stay safe, everyone. There's still plenty of people battling with COVID, so please stay safe. Dan and Stephen, thank you for your time. From myself and to you, the fans, happy Phantoming.
Happy Phantoming, everybody. Make sure you go and get yourself an uncut sheet of these Phantom cards. They're unreal.
That looks superb, Dan. Happy Phantoming, everyone, and may you all stay safe battling the pandemic, and those who have been in flood-ravaged communities this past couple of weeks. We're all thinking of you and doing what we can.
Injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die. The Phantom, the ghost who walks. The Phantom. Enemies beware, the Phantom's always there, but you won't find the Phantom. He finds